Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest, very special guest. I've known this guy at least 20 years. He is one of the greatest physique photographers of all time. A lot of people think he's the greatest, all the way from Los Angeles area. Per Bernal. How are you, Per?
Oh man, that was a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, the best interviewer, reporter, journalist in the business. It's amazing.
So yeah, we've known each other a long time. I knew of you and your work before I actually met you. I used to see your stuff in the Weider magazines, and then the WBF had a magazine, the World Bodybuilding Federation.
That's right,
man. And then later on, you worked for Muscular Development for many years. You had all those iconic covers and images inside. I could spot a Per Bernal photo a mile away. Very distinct style. That's a Per shot. That's a Per shot. It stood out from everybody else.
I appreciate that. That's nice. Thank you.
And I've never really heard your whole story. So I know you got into bodybuilding very, very young, and photography and all that. So let's start the beginning. You're from Sweden originally, correct?
Yeah, Sweden. I'm Swedish Peruvian. So my first 6 years, I grew up in Peru. Oh, wow. I was born in Stockholm, Sweden. We moved to Peru, came back to Sweden, and I was there for a long time. So I grew up in the northern part of Sweden. Yeah, okay. With the Eskimos and stuff. Not really, but it was high up. It's like same altitude as Alaska. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, I know you got into before photography. You were an avid bodybuilder and weight trainer. How did you first become aware of bodybuilding and weights, and what was your earliest inspiration?
It's kind of interesting because I remember I was like in middle school. I was doing all these drawings of superheroes, muscular physiques, and I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. I remember seeing Pumping Iron on TV, like in Sweden. It had to be like late 70s.
Yeah. And
how fascinated I was. And that was like, had such an impact on me. I was on the swim team, and at 16, we started implementing weight training. And that's when the love came. I remember like 16, started lifting weights, and the body started to change, started buying magazines. So that's when it started. So way back in time.
Yeah. So who were the bodybuilders who were really inspirational to you in those when you were 16, 17, 18 years old? Who were the stars of that?
I think Arnold was like the first inspiration, just because he was so different, right? You got to remember, this was in Sweden, like late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. So incredible impact. My favorite was Frank Zane, because I kind of like the aesthetic of it. And Joe Weider was like an amazing father figure. I was a foster kid. Not many people know that. So
no, I didn't know that.
I guess, and you kind of trying to become manly, you start building your body and so forth. So I think it was like a natural progression.
Okay.
So did we break up here, or are we still online?
I got you. So I'm curious. I think I remember seeing pictures that you competed when you were younger. Did you? Oh, now you froze on me.
Yeah, I know, it froze, right?
It froze for a second. So I asked, did you compete when you were younger? I thought I saw pictures at one time.
Yes. I did compete once, 2.5 years, and some guy said you should try the competition. So I did like in the lightweight division at 19. Yes, so I competed.
Yeah.
Am I frozen on your screen?
No, it froze for a minute, but we're good now. If it freezes too badly, I'll let you know. But so what was how did photography enter the picture? Was that the same time, or was that much later?
Yeah. So what happened is, like, I competed at 19. At the same time, just a few months, like I had 6 months earlier, I got some money from my grandma when I graduated high school. So and day after I got the money, I went to a nearby city and bought a used camera. So I remember taking pictures of Muscle Fitness magazine. I spread with Frank Zane posting in the desert. The image, I'm sure you've seen it. Yeah. And just imagine, I shot with him a few years later. It's crazy, right? Yeah.
So what, did you go to school for photography, or are you self-taught?
So I quit, I did the high school, and then I did like a pre-college course in marketing and language. And during that time, I did an internship, and I asked to do it at BK Sports Magazine in Sweden. I don't know if Ove Rytter was the publisher, right?
Of course. Yeah, I remember that magazine.
Yeah. So I was there for like 5 weeks, and during that internship, I asked, would it be okay if I do a story and write about it? And say, yeah, go ahead and do it. So I shot a bodybuilder and 2 bodybuilders, a woman and a man, and they did a feature, and it was published, and I was just like, wow, this is what I want to do. It just felt like if I work hard and do a good job, it felt like it was fair, because if the input was good, it was going to look good. It was bad, it was going to be bad, right? So I just remember, seeing that feature on the pages of the magazine. It was an incredible feeling.
Wow. So
that's when I was like, this is what I want to do.
So when was that? What year was that?
I was 19 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by the time I knew you, you were already very well established. You were already one of the top people in the industry, and you're still in your 20s at that time. I think you're probably in your late 20s. So how did you go from that first feature and living in Sweden to being in Los Angeles and being one of the top photographers? Yeah,
so like quickly, I went to school for a year in photography, and started working at the magazine. I was given a position, so like within a year or two, I was like an assistant editor-in-chief. I did probably 60-70% of the magazine I wrote. It was a lot of translation of magazines. So I was a reporter at first, right? And then I kind of illustrated the features with my own photography. So that's how I got. It was an amazing opportunity. So I think I was with the magazine for 3 years, and during that time, I got to shoot with a lot of the pros. I think the Olympia was like in Gothenburg in 1987.
Yeah.
So I got to shoot Luis Freitas, everybody.
Yeah.
I remember Samir Banu, I got to shoot with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an amazing Lila Brada. And those images I remember they sent it to like Muscle Mag, Muscle and Fitness. So I started getting published in the US and Canada at the time. So I think that everything went super fast.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to ask you if you were at that Olympia. I didn't know if you were old enough, because I would have been.
Yeah, the 1980. Yes, I mean, I'm old as shit, right? I'm 57, born 1964, so I'm an old man.
I'm not far behind you, Per, but
no, exactly. So I've been around a long time, it's been an incredible ride. So much fun. And while I was doing with Ove Rytter, I was shooting for BK Sports Magazine. He wrote a letter to Joe Weider, and Joe, he invited me to come to the US and work for him.
Oh, wow. So that was
end of the 80s. Yeah.
Wow, that was, the magazines were still in their heyday at that time.
Yes.
Late 80s. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I always wanted to come over to the US and feel like, how do I measure up, so to speak,
Who were some of the photographers when you were coming up that either influenced you or that inspired you, or you just had a lot of respect for in the physique?
I think like Bill Dobbins was big at the time. Mike Neville, John Balick, obviously Chris Lund. Robert Reef, it was about the same time. So there was a lot of good photographers at the time. I'm sure still is. I don't follow it so closely anymore, but yes, I came over in 1990. We lived in Venice for 6 months, which was kind of interesting. So life is full of surprises, and there was like ups and downs, but I was like, it was great. There was some disappointments, like in life, we have, we are hoping for things to happen, and sometimes it just doesn't play out the way it is. And I remember I had big expectations. Some of them kind of happened, others didn't. So, but I remember when I was leaving, it was a little bit politics. I'm not going to, we could get all dramatic, but you know how it is. Yeah. Life is politics. So I was like, I returned to Sweden. I was like, I'm done with bodybuilding, right? I'm going to go into fashion, right? But at the same time, during my stint in Los Angeles and Venice, I got to meet a lot of art directors. So I was home for a couple of months, and then I got contacted by, do you remember Ed Pasarelli? Did you ever work with him?
Yeah, I remember the name. Yeah,
so he and his brother, they were recruited by WBF, Vince McMahon. So and they said like, can you come over and work for us? And I said, sure thing. So that's how it started in my rebel years, so to speak.
Yeah, because it was
Because obviously, WBF was a competitor with Joe Weider. I think it was very good that it happened at the time because it gave, good contracts to athletes, photographers, and everything. So there was like a moment there where the publishers had to share and pay their dues. I sound like a socialist right now, correct?
No, but you know what? I've heard a lot of people talk. The WBF was it was a brief experiment that only lasted a couple of years, but it forced, a lot of people like Joe Weider had to start putting people under contract and paying them, or else they were going to go to Vince McMahon and get paid. And the same thing with photographers, writers. It actually helped. Competition helps everybody, and I think it did.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing that I don't know how much I should. I'll be a little bit careful because there's some inside information, and you can't share everything, right? Even though listeners might want to hear. But I always think it's good if you have two parties to play against each other when you negotiate.
Of course, yeah.
And at least two similar size players is a good thing. And I think what happened during that era in the 90s, it was like, supplement companies, they start, okay, we have to pay for these athletes. And I think it's wonderful because it's like you got to share the revenue, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the most lucrative time for athletes because it's not like that anymore. There are very, very few contracts like that now because they just get the social media people with like a couple 100,000 followers, give them a box of supplements and a few $100 a month. They'll post for it. Those days, contracts were great back then.
It was great, but I think it's like, things are changing. Change is, you cannot avoid it. But I think it was a great time. And, it's only in the rear mirror you could really see what was going on at the time, because I remember like in the 90s, hanging out with the best bodybuilders and I'm not going to name names, was shooting someone, and Steve Blackman at Muscular Development, he called me and said, "Now, so how did this Mr. X look like?" And I said, "How was your shoot?" And it's like, "Yeah, it was great, but it was a little bit smooth, right?" And looking back, it was pure perfection, right?
Wow. Yeah,
because the level of competition, the level of bodies and athletes at the time was just insane.
Yeah. So how did
it's different today.
Did you go from WBF to Muscular Development, or did you work for somebody in between?
No, so I was with WBF. First, I was with Joe, like the early 90s.
Yeah.
Then WBF came like in 91, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was recruited at Pasarelli. So that stint lasted for 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
And then I was contacted by Ed again. He started working with Muscular Development. And that's how I got together with Steve. It was about 93, I think.
Yeah. And I want to say it was about 20 years.
So with Steve, I think it's like about 21 years. Yeah.
I'm curious, out of all the covers, out of all the photo shoots you did, is there any one that stands out that you're the most proud of, or sometimes it's that lightning in a bottle thing where you get the person has a perfect look, you get the perfect lighting that day. You do your own lighting, obviously, but anything that you to this day you look back and go, wow, that was amazing.
I think the stump cover with Jay Cutler is like it's like probably the one that I remember the most. I had some amazing shoots with Ronnie Coleman in studio and the athletes at the time. And is it too early to talk about Shawn Ray, or has the magazine come out yet? It's about to, right?
It's coming out soon.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting, right? So that era, like 99, 2000, Joe gave me some personal projects to do. And looking back at that, it was amazing. It was like probably the shots that I'm the most, I'm very, very excited about. Because he trusted me. He came from Joe. Joe was my like father figure, so to speak. Then I started with Steve. I had some amazing, memorable moments. I think I got a shot with, also stage shot with, first we had the stomp, but before that we had with, I'm drawing a blank here. Maybe, are you going to edit this?
It depends. If I have to, we will. But, the foot stomp, it's funny because I had Jay Cutler on just last week and we talked about that. I think that's, and I'm not just saying, not just because it was MD, but to me, that's the most iconic bodybuilding magazine cover of the last 20 years that I can think of. I can't think of any.
It was like time, life is about timing. It was amazing. No, I remember I had a shot with Heath. It was amazing too, doing a crab. Maybe 08, 09 or somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
remember that shot?
oh,
And
yeah.
some cool shots with Ronnie Coleman at the time, you know, at the stage. So there was some amazing covers for MD.
Yeah. See, I often wonder how challenging was it for you, because these shoots were typically done the day or two after the big contest, like the Arnold or the Olympia. These guys are exhausted. They, you know, they probably want to get off their diet, but they can't. They still have to maintain their shape. And you were known. I've talked to so many athletes. I shot with you even one time, and I had a little taste of it. But you know, guys would tell me, man, Pear works the hell out of us. It's like all day. You know, he'll do like 3 or 4 different setups, and we'll do like 20 different exercises. And because you're a perfectionist, and that's why you got that quality work that you did, because you demanded a lot from yourself and from the models, the athletes. Was it hard to keep these guys, you know, on point and motivated to give you 100% for, I know some of those shoots would go on for like 6 to 8 hours.
Have you been in a cage with a tiger?
No, I have not.
No, so no, of course, I sympathize with these guys, and looking back, I mean, we change as people with time, right? And looking back, I'm like, man, I was a fucking, I pushed them a lot. But you know, Steve said, yeah, we need this, we need 5 muscle groups, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, let's do it. So, and I had a lot of pride in my work, because I wanted the athlete to look the best. I wanted to look good myself, and also the magazine. So it was a lot of responsibility. So there's been some, you know, I think, and I don't think I really injured anyone.
No,
maybe their ego.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
You didn't make any.
No, but it's like you just gotta push it. You gotta be. But I think when they feel my enthusiasm to see like the Polaroids or the images, that kind of helps firing up. So you just got to feed them, you know, make sure to feed them some food, and then, you know, constantly push. I probably could be a good coach, right? Maybe I should be.
I think the food is key. As long as they're not that hungry, they're probably not going to be that upset. Anybody that you wish you had been able to photograph that you just never had the opportunity, any bodybuilders?
Yeah, I kind of felt, excuse me. I kind of felt Heath was kind of off limit there for a long time. So someone, I really love Phil, he's a great guy. And there was like, you know, you had the Weider camp and you had the MD camp. So we didn't have access to each other's athletes. So, but the one that kind of stood out was like Heath, you know, is when we shot after the Olympia, he came by, you know, the set, you know, we're shooting at the same gym, East Flamingo, Gold's Gym, East Flamingo. And he kind of came by and said, yeah, I wish I could shoot with you. And like, yeah, I know. It's like, just is what it is. So it's like, yeah, it was kind of, you know, fun looking back at. Yeah. So, but I had opportunity to shoot a lot of good people.
Yeah. I mean, at the magazine wars, if you want to call them that, it was MD versus Flex for the longest time. And it was good for the athletes in a way, because they had contracts to be exclusive to magazines. But
yeah, it's amazing.
For you as a photographer, for me as a writer, I was like, damn, I wish I could interview Phil Heath. Was a great example. I couldn't interview Phil Heath until much later. I think like 3 years ago, I finally got to interview him. And Shawn Ray, the same thing. I couldn't interview Shawn until he was retired from bodybuilding, because he was under Weider contract for all those years. So yeah, it was great for the athletes, and I think the fans got a lot of good, you know, images and articles and everything out of it too. But for us, it was frustrating at times, because there were people that were great athletes that we wanted to work with. We had no access to them. So yeah. How did you go into? You transitioned also into a lot of like us mainstream celebrities.
It's the war, right?
Yeah, the war. So
so it's like you know, I was with Steve for, you know, up to 2013. And then, you know, I transitioned and I started shooting for Muscle and Fitness. And, you know, they had the Hers, Flex, they had Shape, Men's Journals, Men's Fitness. So, you know, I worked with the late Sean Perrine, who was like, I felt like he was really, you know, pushing. He was an amazing man. You know, I miss him a lot. But he was kind of helping out. I felt he had my back. So I was given a lot of opportunities. And with, you know, Steve Blackman has been amazing in my career, you know, amazing man, friend. With with Weider, it was like David Pecker that I befriended. It was also like a very good experience. Like these are people you can learn from in many ways. And I was given great opportunities to shoot like 50 Cent, The Rock, good, big people, which was kind of, it really took me out of the safety of bodybuilding, so to speak, right? Because like bodybuilding is a niche sport. I love it. It's been giving me so much. It's just amazing. But I do feel that, it just helped me expand my horizon, it test me. And I remember starting to shoot for Muscle Fitness. We want everything in color and black and white, my forte. So I felt like someone amputated me, right? But it was a good thing. It's like challenges. That's how you grow, from challenges.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, your style, the black and white photography that you did, that's your hallmark. I mean, you've done so much great work in black and white.
Thank you.
Do you prefer that to color? Explain to people who don't really understand photography, like I only have a very basic understanding of it, why black and white offers you more freedom, or you're able to get better images, or why black and white, why do you prefer it? That's basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, so shockingly, no, it's not shocking, but I'm slightly colorblind.
Oh,
which is kind of interesting, right? Yeah.
Okay. That explains everything.
Exactly. And so black and white, I just felt there's a calmness in black and white, because like any color that is in the background or the clothing you wear has a lot of signals in it. So I kind of feel like with black and white, you see the shades of gray and black and white. I always found it really, really beautiful. There's a lot of great photography, like Ansel Adams. If you look at the landscape, like in color, you wouldn't have gotten that tonality. So, and I kind of see bodybuilders when they're like in great shape, good. It's very symmetrical. It's like a landscape. And I just kind of felt that black and white kind of, it looks good on black and white. Plus Chris Lund, you were talking about photographers. He was a great inspiration, and he was shooting a lot of black and white. So, you take your inspiration from different areas, from different photographers, and you find your own voice, and black and white was really big. And I just feel like it's kind of gives me kind of a little bit of a calmness just looking at it, it's not signaling colors, but color photography is great too, because you could see the skin tone and, a lot of stuff. Yeah. So
some of the most classic stuff, a lot of the bodybuilders over the years, when they've come out with their own books or DVDs, they've used your studio shots of them with the white backdrop. Like Ronnie Coleman did a book, and it was just the front and back covers were just, those are some of the best pictures I think I've ever seen of Ronnie Coleman. I think it's
thank you. It's amazing to have the opportunity to be in these athletes' life and capture them at this point of, at their peak. So and only time can tell you if something was good or not.
Yeah. So another thing that you've done, I know because, Hector Mendoza, who does both video and still photography for MD now, he went out to Los Angeles, I think it was last year, and you put on these workshops or camps for up and coming photographers. So I had a workshop. I had a workshop with Leica camera. So, everything was, set up. We had like 6 to 8 people, they had to pay for the course, of course. And it was like over, I think 2.5 days. So I had set up different things we're supposed to, that I was going to teach, and they learned. And then COVID hit, so they kind of canceled it, but I was able to set it up anyway. So I we had photographers from all over the place, like the USA, and also a guy from Australia that came, and I was teaching, went through different scenarios, talking about light, mindset is so big in everything. And we're going to talk more about that, I hope, because that's the next phase of my life. So I invited them, I taught them the tricks. Everybody has their unique voice. I think it's good to copy others, but in the end, you cannot be an original, so you got to be your own original. So you just find that voice, find what looks good to you, and just hone that, the work, and get the technicality out of the way, so you kind of master that. Yeah, because I'm sure so many aspiring photographers have come to you and say, what's your secret? Tell me your secret. How can I take photos just like you? When I think you just made it clear that everyone has to be their own, just like writing or any art form, music, you have to find your own style. You
Yeah,
can't
your
just
own voice.
can't imitate Pear and try to be another Pear Bernal.
No, they say, how can I be you? And I'm like, brother, it's not going to work. It's like, you got to be you, your version. The same with you. They cannot be Ron. It's only one Ron.
Right. Yeah. Thank God. So
yeah,
let's talk about, we all grow and evolve as people. What the last 10 years of your life, 5 years, what have you been learning about yourself, about the world, about, you've grown as a person, not just as a professional.
No, like everybody does that. Like, I think life gives you opportunities to grow. And, as you know, publishing has changed a lot. My whole life revolved about publishing. So when that was kind of pulled out of under my feet, I was like, shit, how am I going to make a living now, right? So, just before COVID, AMI was sold, and a year before that, they kind of cut the rate. The magazine sales was down, and obviously that kind of hit me hard. And so that kind of made me pause and say, this is not sustainable. I have to change. Because I was very fortunate. I always was on magazine contracts. Those are lucrative. It was very lucrative for me. Sure. So I could pay my way. I didn't have to worry about work. But suddenly, I'm sorry, that corporate was pulled out of under my feet, and I had to reinvent myself. Went through some heavy times, which was good. It's like we always think when we got into a wall or something really bad happens to us, we feel almost like there's a punishment, but it's actually a chance to change. It's like, I think God wants us to become stronger. So it gives us an opportunity for growth. So I started working with a life coach and therapist. And, with my background as a foster kid and everything, I was running on the fume of survival instinct, right? That's why for me, it was normal to work 7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days. It was crazy. Like with Steve, I had 3 magazines, and with Muscle Fitness, I was working with 3, 4, 5 magazines. It was, wow. Especially with Steve, was so many features, like 10, 12 features a month. You know what I'm saying, right?
I remember. Yeah, I remember.
And you work a lot for him too. So I didn't have work-life balance. There was no balance. I was a machine. I was a robot, right? But I'm thankful for it because I was able to create a lot. But, later in life, I woke up and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live like this. I want to have kids. I want to have with family and everything. So it was a big, big crisis, and I started doing a lot of inner workings, and that has changed my output on life, and that's what I want to share. So what I'm doing now, I had this idea for a platform, a digital platform, because I remember when the iPad came out for the first time, I said, like, wow, this is interesting. We could do digital magazines and everything. But the universe is about alignment. Things has to catch up, right? So I felt like I want to do a platform about mind, body, spirit, how you can change your blueprint. And that's amazing, and that's what we all work on, right? Whenever we have, most of the problems we have as a person comes from childhood, traumas, you have triggers, anger, you name it. And there are tools nowadays, you can use it to change it. And for me, I'm talking from a personal experience. I feel like I'm 19, 20 in mind. I'm becoming younger, but I still have the wisdom of an older person because I went through a lot, right? So the platform I'm working on is called Fittiflix. So I have Fittiflix is a partner. My partner is in Mumbai, India. So I had the platform. Life is like you have a coin. You have 2 sides, right? So I'm good with like a creative vision, content. I can do that, but I know nothing about tech. So this person, Gian, he contacted me like in the beginning of 21, and he was the other side of the coin. So we're working on a platform called Fittiflex. So we have funding, so we're just waiting to get that through, and then we're going to start create content. It's going to be like similar to like a Netflix, but for fitness.
Okay, so it would be So it would be another streaming service, but it would be purely fitness related stuff. Wow.
Yes, fitness, but it's going to be much more. It's going to be like mind, body, spirit. So, like as you know, anyone can get in shape and train, right?
Yeah.
Correct. You can get in shape. Anyone can get in shape. You follow a certain routine. But the difference is, how do you sustain it? Right? So you need to get inspiration. And that's what we want to be. We want to, is like, that's where the mind comes in, like it's mind, body, spirit. So we want to be like a portal, a place you go to be inspired. You know, everybody has that fire in their chest. You know, it's like passion, right? And as you go out in life, you know, you get heartbroken, shit happens, and that fire becomes smaller and smaller. I want to be there and just fucking light that fire up, pardon my French, right? And get people excited. You know how it is, like when you go to the gym, when you start lifting weights, and when you felt like bodybuilding is my life, that is passion, right? But can you imagine having that drive through life? You can do anything.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's like, it's never too late to start over. And you know, George in Greece, the hormone doctor. Yeah. So I contacted, we spoke maybe 3 months ago, and you've seen his transformation, right?
He's fired up. Let me tell you, he is. I get pictures every day from him.
And that's what FitFlix is about. And, you know, we had maybe 3-4 conversations, and it's just kind of giving a different perspective and fire people up. That's what it's about. And that's what the platform is going to be. It's going to be celebrity driven. And we're going to have, just imagine a platform, you have up to 100 people teaching you, giving you the tools you need to change. You know, so that's what, so we're going to have maybe 10, 15 celebrities. We're going to have bodybuilding experts, fitness experts, diet coaches. We're going to talk about yoga, meditation. And for me, the biggest change for me has been, like, I've done like a big transformation in 3 last years, especially this past year. And it's been through meditation, prayer. I've been intermittent fasting and like cardio and lightweight training. So those are amazing tools. And it's all about, you got to rearrange, scramble your head a little bit. And like all these, all this shit we carry from the past is holding us back. You got to unload that backpack of shit and just kind of start fresh again. And there is never too late.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but I think you look younger now than you did like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm 57, you know, so it's like, and also I've been separated. So I think, you know, coming out in life, I was with my wife for 30 years. I'm not going to talk much about it. She's been an amazing person, but life moves on, and it's just a fresh start. I just want to, you know, every day counts, every moment. And what it's about, you know, it's about changing a blueprint. It's about mindset. I think it's a lot about living in the moment, right? If you look at if I look back at my past, I mean, I had a golden, you know, steady job, steady money coming in and everything. Then you become bitter because I want to go back. You can't do that. And if you think about the future, it's like we worry, right? What's going to happen? But if we live in the moment, then it's fucking beautiful. Like in the moment, most people are happy.
Yeah, I think I've come to realize that's one of the most difficult things to do, is to live in the moment. I really struggle with that. I'm always either thinking about the past or worrying about the future. I'm almost never like right here, present in this moment.
Yeah. And you know why? I'll tell you why. Because our minds are constantly occupied with finding solutions and cures. So you're thinking like whatever you do during the day, it's like you have problems you're going to solve all the time. So you're more focused on that. But you know what? I say, let's say you have a problem you're going to solve, and your combined experience and wisdom in life hasn't been able to solve something for you by this time. So what do? I mean, you bring in a coach, but I am such a strong believer in God and the universe, and it's going to give you solutions, because, you know, it's going to send people to you. There are messages. There's always lessons to learn. So I'm always trying to have a very open heart, open mind, you know, and try to keep my ego at bay, and just kind of, you know, it sounds a little bit like I'm not like a UFO person or like a hallelujah person. You know, God is I think it's real. And that's how it kind of, since I started praying and meditating, it's like took all my worries away. Like, even though with COVID and everything has hit my business hard, I'm still fucking chipper and happy, you know?
So I mean, how much do you still do in terms of photography? Are you moved on to these other projects, or are you still?
So it's like it's such an interesting question, because if you've asked me like just 3 years ago, you know, Per, who are you? You know, I would say I'm a photographer, right?
Yeah.
Today, I'm me. right? And photography, it's like, it's been less and less, and a lot of the platform that we're doing, it's going to be, like I said, just imagine you have all these great people on board. They're going to have their own channels. We're going to have live TV. We're going to have podcasts, live events, streaming programming. We're going to have a shop. We're going to have some apps for, that you could connect to your smart devices to keep track on your fitness level, your progress. And it's going to, but the most important thing is it's going to give you the tools that you need to transform. And it's like, when I look back at it, it's like, life is about coping mechanisms. How do you cope with stress? Myself, I ate a lot, so I gained weight, and I think a lot of people do that. It's like, it's a place of solace to eat. So how do you get away with that? So that's what we're going to show. Whatever coping mechanism you change your blueprint, be like the real version of you. It's like you run. I mean, but I see you being very, very successful at what you're doing. It's like, how can you maintain the passion? It's because you're following your passion, like what you love, right?
Yeah. It's so cool that for all those decades, you were inspiring people through your work, those images. That's what I loved about magazines is you could hold them in your hands and you could open them up and you could look at the pictures. And I think even I still would, even though I worked for them, I would still look at those pictures before I went to the gym and get all motivated. Like you did maybe it was an article that I wrote, but you took the pictures of Branch Warren leg training. I would look at those pictures and then I'd go off to train legs. I'd be all fired up. So it's cool that you're transitioning into a whole other platform where you're going to be able to do that, but it's not just addressing one aspect. You're going to be doing mind, body, spirit all in one.
It's all about inspiration. It's like lighting that fire in your chest. That's what it's all about. It's like, how do I keep being inspired? Because that's how there are three ways of changing, in my opinion. Number one, pain. Okay. You're holding on to your reality, and your reality doesn't conform to the real reality, and it's painful to accept that, right? So you're going to hit that wall over. It's like being on a video game. You're on a loop. You're doing the same mistake. Finally, it's going to be painful enough so you are forced to change, right? You know that.
Yeah, of course.
Pain is the touchstone of change. Number two is passion. It's like, look at your passion for bodybuilding, writing. It's like you don't have to think about it. It just fires you up, and you just do it because you love it. Yeah. And I think do what you love, do it well, and money will come, right? So it's a way. And I think people need to really hone into that. And the third is love. When you fall in love, it's like when you fall in love, you want to be the best version of you, right? So you hit the gym, you do your thing, you get a haircut, because you want to present the best version of you to the person that you're going after, correct?
Yeah.
So that is powerful, but it's all about that internal flame. And that's what life is about.
Cool. Wow. So I guess there's no way to really there's nothing that people can look at right now about FitFlix or
we're working on it. So it's like we're in pre-production. So so we got the first investment is coming into place, so we could start producing. We're going to build a beta version of the app, and I'm going to film content, and so sometime like in the first quarter of 22, we hope we're going to have something to show. Yeah. So, but there's going to be, it's like if you go to Bernal photo on Instagram, or Per C. Bernal on Facebook, I'm going to start dropping stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm very interested to check this out. Very exciting. It's totally totally different.
Yeah, I think it's going to be different. Yeah, because I feel like times are changing, but people still want to listen to music, even though we don't have LPs or tapes or CDs. So it's the same thing with publishing. I think people still want to have information. And when it comes down to what you really want is inspiration, right?
Yeah. Cool.
That's what gets you going.
Absolutely. Okay. So guys, everybody, you can follow him along, see how this thing's progressing and coming along at Per Bernal Photo on Instagram, Per C. Bernal on Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm very excited for you. I'm happy to hear about this. This is a a whole new chapter for you. It's
Yeah, it's a new, yes, and I think it's just yeah, more dimensions to it. But it's still and I'm so happy you said that. I'm very happy to hear that you felt that you get inspired by my photography, because that's what it's about. So I'm still in the game of inspiration. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Do you know how many old MDs I have?
No, tell me.
You have no idea. I mean,
What?
so you know those crates that are those rubber plastic crates? They're about this big.
Yeah.
I have about 20 of those full of magazines, mostly MD.
Are you sure?
My wife is so mad at me because we got a storage unit to put some of them in there, because it's our whole basement is like, you can't even walk. It's ridiculous.
But it's beautiful. I think she should let you be. You know, what's like as long as you put your underwear like in the bin, right? So whatever.
I do.
Yeah. So have a room with your collectibles. I think that's memorabilia. So that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, because those were the 90s, the magazines back then with MD was that thick, and wow.
Do you remember MD was like 500-600 pages thick? It was crazy. It was like a phone book. Could you imagine being a male guy at that time, male person? That's gonna be hard.
Yeah, I think I did 15 to 20 different Q&A columns for athletes every month in that era. We had so many athletes under contract. We used to have like 6 to 8 feature articles a month. Yeah, those are the heydays of the magazine era. I'm glad I was part of it.
And listen, I think the best is yet to come.
Yeah,
it's going to be different, but I think the best is yet to come.
I like that attitude. Yeah,
because what I do find something sad is like, I'm looking at, I haven't been to Olympia since I think 2017, 2018. And just looking at the current state, it's like, where are the historians? Yeah,
Peter was the best, and we lost Peter.
Yes.
Giles over in UK. He's got amazing. A lot of knowledge. I don't know. I'm not as good as him. As like, he could tell you, you could say 1999 British Grand Prix, and he'll give you the whole top 10 in order.
Yeah.
First place, second place. I can't do that. I'm not that good.
No, but it's like we have our different strengths, right?
Yeah.
So I see. So that's the only thing that I've been thinking of. Like, what happens? Like, when we look back, is it going to be like are we in the dark ages right now? Like, because it's like everything is consumed same day, and then it just goes away.
Yeah, you're right. Like, what do you call it? TikTok? The ones that they disappear after like 30 seconds or something. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a very, very fast culture and society we live in right now.
Yeah. So it's like, how are you going to go back?
Have to adapt and find new ways, I suppose. That's all I can think of. Yeah. Cool. Well, Per, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for all the work you've done over the years. To this day, I still look back I have all these old magazines. Sometimes I just look at the old magazines, because those images that's what I love about magazines. It's forever,
Yes, it's a historical document now. Yes, you're right. And I need to do it, because I'm kind of, right now I'm, in the present moments, I don't look back much, but it's probably very healthy to do. Yeah.
It's some amazing work you did over the years. Incredible stuff. Some of the best bodybuilding training studio stuff I've ever seen. And millions and millions
of love there, lots of work and passion put into it. And definitely. Likewise.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Per. Everybody, Per Bernal Photo on Instagram, Per C. Bernal on Facebook. Keep track of what he's up to, what he's going to be doing very soon in the near future. And we appreciate you guys all watching this Ronline Report with Per Bernal. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.